Hello, I'm Gary Lyon and welcome to Access All Areas. A couple of one-sided semis, but we've got two tantalising prelims ahead of us, Damien Barrett and Matty Lloyd, to give the Cats and Giants a decent chance against their opponents this weekend, and welcome.
I think you have to give them a chance, Gaz, but I think if they all play at their best, the Crows and Tigers play off in the grand final. But Sydney showed Dame on the weekend. If you are off, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah, because I reckon they're both live prelim finals. I really do give the underdogs a massive chance, and we'll go through it in the next few moments as to why.
Yeah, you can't tip with any great surety, that's for sure. After Friday night, we sat back and were stunned by what the Cats threw up. It was fantastic. So let's start with the Giants, and for them to come to the MCG and give the Tigers a bit of a share, we need to see plenty of this. And I'm not sure the opposition's pressure indicators were through the roof, but the run and the spread is what they're going to have to bring.
Well, one great thing for the Giants is their confidence will be at 100% because of what they got on the weekend, but it's a really hard game to judge because the Eagles were so poor. This just will not happen on Saturday with what we've seen from Richmond. But, as I said, they've got their confidence. One thing I like about the Giants, I still think they're a tough midfield at times. Canelio, Kelly, Scully at times. They can still hopper. Yep. They can win their own ball as well.
Lordo and Gaz, did they benefit by the changes that they had to make at selection? Obviously, with Mumford and Cameron out. Is that why they did what they did against the Eagles?
I, in my own mind, don't have any question about that, Damo. We called for it last week. I would have thought that Mumford should have been dropped. He was injured as it was, so he didn't play. The similarities between this and the Melbourne game, when Mumford and Cameron were both injured and suspended, and they had to go small, well, it was replicated, and I think this is the way forward. It's particularly against this Richmond side coming up. You can't go back. In fact, you may even have to shed another one, and it might be out of their back half. They've got a defence that's got Davis, it's got
Tomlinson.
Core, Tomlinson and Haynes.
Yep.
Now, that's 4 6'2" and over against one Jack Reebok.
Okay, so Mumford and Cameron out of that week's team. Yep. You take one more big guy out if there to be a chance against the Tigers. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's a genuine discussion they're going to have a look at. And Devon Smith might be the man that comes back in.
Okay, and does that then mean that Stevie Johnson is part of this equation? Because his coach couldn't guarantee him absolutely a game despite kicking 6 goals in the semi-final. As
everything with Stevie, none of it is straightforward. It's all complicated because he had... I thought his presence and swagger was great in the first half, but he didn't have massive impact on the fact they got to this massive lead.
He kicked 6 goals in a final.
Oh, just clean your ears.
That's enough.
Clean your ears out. I just said he didn't have a massive impact when they had the lead at half-time, Damien, if you let me finish. The 6 after it was great theatre, it was great for his confidence, great for the team's confidence. Therefore, on form he plays. The query is, for Leon Cameron and for Stevie more than anyone else, is he physically able to come up? Because that was his own great doubt in recent times, whether the knee is capable of playing 2 weeks in a row. Over to you, Lordo.
I think that he plays Damo because losing Mumford and Cameron, their depth isn't great. The GWS Giants, they don't have a lot to choose from, so I think he plays. But a 2-goal game and a 6-goal tackle performance would be a big tick for him. But he can't have the type of games he'd been having previous to that, which he was just not contributing anything at all.
I think he's going to play if he puts his hand up, but he needs to be really honest about it. I mean, Mitchell and Prentice were great the week before too, and another week up, and they're older bodies, and we know that Stevie's got the crook knee. So
he took a really bad leg into a grand final when he was clearly a lot fitter than he is now.
6 years younger.
Correct, but he's still got that warrior outlook about him, and I'd be having him in my team.
We love it.
And he still kicked 6 goals in a final, Gaz.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Hey, Brett Deledio, though, Gaz, for the first time since he's returned, certainly for the Giants, looked clean and did it off half-back.
Good decision to send him back. It's hard to play half-forward in the modern game, where you've got to get up and be part of a defence and then push back. And when you haven't played a lot of footy, just sitting behind the ball and looking at it all unfold was a good call, Lordo. And no, he wasn't dominant either, but it was he's only played a handful of games, but he looked pretty assured. The challenge for him is coming up on Saturday in the afternoon. He's going to play on one of these small Richmond forwards who's super quick, and that's going to be a handful.
Well, I think their pressure the Richmond's pressure will be like the Crows was in the first final, and he had 13 disposals on the week and he had 15, so they need so much more from Brett Deledio if they're to win. I think he's playing his 250th game against his former side. It's going to be great theatre, but still, I think the heat's going to come on Brett in this big final.
No doubt about it. What about a word on the West Coast Eagles? They've been, I think, disappointing all year. They did what they had to do and found a way to win against Port Adelaide. They were shot. They looked shot. They looked slow through. And I couldn't help but see when the champions were walking off, it was Prentice and Mitchell, and that was the leg speed issue there. And Gaff and Sheed aren't quick. their quickest player is Lewis Jetta, and God knows what you're going to get from him.
Decision to make about Lacroix too, isn't there, Lotto?
There is, yeah. I think I look at them and they played 2 finals, but they are so far off, it's not funny. So they need some hard calls to make. You know, even like, would you throw up a Jack Darling for a trade? Do you throw up, you know, a star of your team? I think Duggan has to come into the midfield. They have to find elite midfielders. They're okay back and forward, but their midfield is just so far off it, so they need to try and somehow get some elite midfielders.
Pace, I'm so big on pace for them, I reckon that's the thing. And you see how big a difference Jetta makes in those little 6-minute bursts, but he only has 6-minute bursts.
So you don't see them as a top 6 team,
no,
though?
I do not. No, they're going to make change to their list. I'm sure they will. Hey, as we sit here Monday morning, Ken Hinkley's future with the Port Adelaide Footy Club remains up in the air. The Gold Coast Suns are said to be coming hard.
Yeah, they are, Gaz, and it's a big day today. Ken Hinkley's going to speak today on Adelaide Radio. Now, he needs to make it really clear what he wants to do, not just hide behind the fact he's got a contract, make it very clear that he actually wants to be there or he doesn't. So there's no two ways about what he has to do in that radio interview. It's
what do you think?
Look, there's enough smoke around it. Stuart Dew pulled out, as we reported yesterday, Gaz, out of the process because his intel and his Port Adelaide connected person was that Ken Hinkley had the job. That's why he pulled out of the interview that he'd had scheduled for Saturday. He's got a contract and there could be stipulations around him not being able to coach another club. All the legal people are looking at that at the moment. So a big day. And we've also got David Koch against Tony Cochrane, 2 big bull-type presidents who won't want to be having the other person get the better of them. And also, the AFL runs the Gold Coast Suns, and as we speak, an AFL-run club is coercing a coach to leave a contract. We know how angry they've been about coaches being sacked under contract and the movement within the industry. So I reckon this is a commission level. Richard Gordon needs to be pretty clear on what this club is doing under his watch.
Well, do you think the AFL need to jump in here and just stress the importance of contracts? Mark Evans wrote the legislation on this about going poaching assistant coaches.
He did. It's easy to do it when you're actually working for headquarters. Now you're working at a club. He's got every right to make the approach, but also too, the AFL needs to stand for something on this and at least go public with what they make of this situation.
We'll watch this space with great interest. We expect developments today. Let's go to Friday night. One of the great coaching performances of the year, I reckon, from Chris Scott, and bewildering coaching too from John Longmire. We'll go through all of those, Lordo. Talk us through. We've picked out 4 different areas where Chris Scott can sit back and be very well pleased with what he put forward on Friday night.
Yeah, full credit to Geelong, and they need to try something different, and the number one was Dangerfield to full forward. That's what he needed to do because they just can't score. They couldn't score in previous weeks, and we knew the first final against Richmond, they'd scored 2 goals, and only their 2 goals came late in that second quarter. But Dangerfield, he just spooked Sydney.
As we wade through these 4 key points that you've introduced to this conversation, Lotta, is this one transportable against the Adelaide team on Friday night?
Why I think it is I don't think there's a great matchup for him. I think you look at Talia, you look at Hardigan, you look at Lever. I think Dangerfield will, maybe it's not from the first bounce, Gaz, but for periods, I think he'll test them out.
And what it does, Damo, is that so much focus goes on to him, gaps open up for others.
Yeah.
That's as important, probably next week even more so. So that was a masterstroke. The other one was we've seen the way that Hawthorn have played against Sydney. We've seen Collingwood have success in keeping the ball away from the opposition, and they did it again. The uncontested mark situation was inflated by the end of it because they had the last 20 minutes where it was a bit of fun, but it was undeniable. Denied them the footy. They were plus 76 in marks, plus 120 odd in disposals, 110 in uncontested possession.
Is that one transportable?
Yeah, I think. But we spoke to Simon Lloyd, your brother, pre-game on radio, and it was a fantastic interview because he gave a little bit more than everyone else, and it was all about being discerning with the ball. And then that first 5 minutes, instinct was to go quickly, and I saw Menengola just almost physically pull himself up and say, no, that our plan's not to go long down the line, and so they executed beautifully, and it is transport.
Another key to what they did was freeing up Lockie Henderson, and again, as we talk about what they did in the weekend just gone, is this one workable against Adelaide too?
The one before, a week before, Damo, Richmond tagged Henderson with Jacob Townsend, who kicked 2 goals but didn't allow Henderson to do this. And this is the one where Gary and I are very critical of Longmire because he should not have let this happen. Poor Franklin. He went up 2 and 3 against, and Reid, mind you, is way back behind the ball, which allowed for this.
So what should Longmire have done in your eyes here to the layman?
I believe he either, when you're down by 30 points, he stays forward, fights and scraps, because they have to kick a score to win, or he's up higher where they're getting smashed around the ball, impacting at the contest.
There's no question. Well, in our mind, and again, we're easy. We're sitting in media boxes, and John Longmire and his coaching staff are in the box. But when you're 8 down halfway through the third quarter, and you've got Sam Reid 2 kicks away, last line of defence, Buddy Franklin 1 against 2, 1 against 3, no defensive pressure in their forward 50 because they're outnumbered. So Henderson involved in the chain, you just couldn't get any pressure on it. It was really... It was unusual to watch, and it was hard to justify in our mind.
Before we move on to that one, the next one, I think it's one of the reasons he's so inconsistent. What is he? Is he a forward? Is he a floating backman? He's never in the one spot for longer than 15 minutes.
And take out the big six is the next one you got. So identify big key players that have impact and go to work on them.
Yeah, you look at the big, obviously the big dogs for the Sydney Swans, and it's Luke Parker and it was Kennedy, and they just had poor games, those players, and obviously Lance Franklin as well.
Obviously nothing can work unless the lesser lights stand up. When you send Dangerfield forward, Menegola, I thought, started beautifully to allow that plan to work.
Yeah, and if you can't... They did it the week previously when they were belted, and Danger sat there for 6 minutes and didn't see the footy. So it was Menegola and it was Mitch Duncan, who was superb again, who continues to grow as a footy player. So they all did their role, and from week to week, Chris Scott did a great job.
They've had a lot of embarrassing performances, and when you do lose a semi-final the way they did, just the numbers that these Swans forwards racked up in the first half when this game was being shaped, Lordo, they're numbers that are going to haunt players, including some big names who may have reasons for those slow numbers, Gaz, but it's a long summer now for them.
I say to you, Lordo, Franklin 3, Reid 3 and Sinclair 1, they didn't take a contested mark in their forward 50, and this gets back to the outnumber once again, and then you've got the peripheral players.
Yeah, they're let down by their midfield at times, but I just think Gary Rowan, it's got to the point where you ask yourself, and Jeddah, can we ever play those guys in a final ever again?
Really?
So then you'd ask the question, do we keep them on our list? Because Rowan has let them down so much. He averages 9 disposals across 15 finals.
And you don't do it lightly, you don't make those comments lightly, but ultimately that's what you're there for, is you're playing rounds 1 to 23 so you can impact, in the big 4 weeks.
Well, if you're not going to play him in a final, what would you even have him on the list then? If you're the Sydney Swans, are you saying trade him?
Yes, I am. And even Wellingham, do you ever play him ever again after a performance like that?
All right, strong stuff as always from Lordo, which we've come to enjoy. Time for our lift hard-hitting moments. I'm not sure about this one, but we've dug into the archives, I'm told. I'll go first because this is a legitimate hard hit. That's the Selwood boys. They're over in Perth. And then the young one gets up and gives the older one another shove on the way out. And the Eagles, the West Australian crowd...
There's Selwood there too, Gaz.
There's 3 of them, all in the one frame.
Now, as good as that is, and as good as the one you're about to see from my offering here, Gaz, this is Glenn Archer on Lenny Hayes playing his first game of AFL footy, bang. As good as that is, and we'll just see this again, it is very, very good. I think Lordo's got us covered, unfortunately,
These are
Gaz.
serious ones.
They are.
It's his first game.
It's his first game.
So the pace and it didn't worry him.
I love the way Archer just walked across him, but I love the way Lenny got up.
Look at Lordo, he's jumping around in his chair, he's that excited.
I think he's got us covered. Go for
well, it's called lift hard hitting moments, and I would have thought this hat hair or this helmet would have protected this headbutt, Gaz. That is one of the most entertaining things. Let's watch it again one more time, would you?
He nearly got 4 weeks for that.
Oh, very good, very fun.
I probably can't talk about hair, but your hair was doing a bit back there.
It was back there. That was the trend of the day, Dave, mate.
Was it?
And you're right, don't you talk about hair.
Correct.
Very nice. Thank you very much for joining us on AFL.com.au. And regardless of what else you might hear in the market, we are still the #1 site for all football news. Be not mistaken about that. This week on the Wash Up, we pick apart the Swans and the West Coast Eagles. Thank you for watching Access All Areas. Goodbye.